She died from snakebite, but the real killer was her husband. CNN. Utra's mother found her daughter lying motionless in bed at the family home, her left arm dotted with blood. Her family rushed her to the local Kalam hospital in the southern Indian state of Kerala, but the 25-year-old was already dead. A post-mortem on May 7, 2020 confirmed she'd been beaten hours earlier by the highly venomous Indian spectacled cobra, according to court documents. In India, where snake bites were not uncommon, that couldn't have been the end of it. But her family grew suspicious and filed a complaint with police. After a trial that made national headlines, Utra's killer was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison for crimes the sentencing judge called diabolic and ghastly. The judge found Utra's death was caused by the cobra, but the real killer was her husband, and it wasn't the first time he would use a snake as a weapon. Suraj Kumar and Utra married in 2018, but by 2019 he was plotting her death. A broken love story. Suraj Kumar and Utra, who went only her by her first name, met through a matchmaking service and married in March 2018. We wanted to find someone who would make her happy, said Utra's brother Bishu, who also only used one name. She was a girl who was a little different. She had a learning disability. We wanted a man who could take care of her. Kumar, a 27-year-old bank clerk, did not come from a financially stable background. His father was the auto risk show driver and his mother a housewife. According to the judgment, Kumar married Utra with the object of financial gain. When the couple married, Kumar accepted a dowry of 720 grams of gold and Suzuki sedan and 500,000 rupees, about $6,700 in cash. Utra was someone who never saw bad in anyone. Bishu, Utra's brother. The first few months of married life seemed uneventful, and within a year they had a son, the judgment said, but it wasn't long before Kumar's parents wanted more. According to the judgment, Kumar's parents demanded Utra's parents pay for household appliances, a car, furniture, renovation work, and admission fees for an MBA course for Kumar's sister. Utra was someone who never saw bad in anyone, Vishu said. Her learning disability meant she didn't have the means to see that she was being used. Utra's father told the court he met all of Kumar's demand and also paid him 8,000 rupees, $107 per month, to take care of his daughter. But Kumar grew dissatisfied with Utra's learning disability, according to the judgment. He began to plot her death. Failed murder attempt. In late 2019, Kumar appears to develop the obsession with snakes. He spent hours on the internet watching YouTube videos, including episodes of Snake Master, featuring renowned snake expert Baba Suresh. Suresh's YouTube channel, which has more than 270,000 subscribers, shows him calmly interacting with the snakes, including the highly potent Russell's viper, one of the most aggressive snakes in Asia. Snake catcher Baba Suresh is widely known for rescuing snakes from human habitat in Kerala. On February 26th, Kumar bought a deadly Russell's viper from snake handler Chavaru Kavu Suresh, no relation to Baba Suresh, for 10,000 rupees, $135, prosecutors said. The next day, he left the snake on the staircase of his house and asked Uttara to patch his phone from the first floor bedroom, hoping that it wouldn't bite and kill her. But he failed in the attempt since Uttara saw the snake and raised the alarm calls, according to the judgment. Kumar captured the snake and kept it in the plastic bag, and on the night of March 2nd, he tried again. Kumar mixed the sedatives into a sweet bowl of Indian rice pudding before Uttara fell fast asleep. As he slept, Kumar forced the viper to bite her before throwing the serpent out of the house to destroy the evidence. Russell's vipers are nocturnal, and dwell in dry places under shrubs. Uttara woke up screaming in excruciating pain, and with some delay, he was taken to the hospital by Kumar, who claimed he had been beaten outside at night while washing clothes. Uttara contradicted his version of events by saying she never did the washing after dusk. The very next day, as wife lay in hospital, Kumar was back on his phone researching snakes, but this time he searched for cobra. The mother, Uttara, spent 52 days in Pushpagiri Hospital in the Kerala town of Tirubella, recovering from the viper bite, and when she was finally released to her parents' care on April 22 last year, she was unable to walk. As she laid in bed, her leg bandaged after skin graft, Kumar decided to strike. On May 6th, just 15 days after she had left the hospital, he smuggled another snake he'd bought from snake handler Chavarukavu Suresh into her parents' house. This time it was a cobra. Before going to bed, Kumar gave the Uttara a glass of juice laced with sedatives, according to the judgment. As she slept, Kumar threw the serpent at her, but the reptile didn't bite, so he grabbed its head and forced its fangs deep into her left arm, twice. Despite his effort to make it appear as an accident, a number of clues suggested the bite wasn't natural, from the width of the fang marks to the position of the bite and the impossibility that the cobra had entered the room on its own. Cobras generally do not bite unless they are highly provoked, and after 8 p.m. they are generally dormant. Hari Shankar, Kerala Police. The two pairs of bite marks on Uttara's arm had a width of 2.3 and 2.8 centimeters, 0.9 and 1.1 inches, respectively, much larger than the typical width of cobra fangs of between 0.4 to 1.6 centimeters, 0.16 to 0.63 inches, experts told the court. That indicated the cobra's upper jaw had been pushed as if it was being milked. The time of day also raised the suspicion. Cobras generally do not bite unless they are highly provoked, and after 8 p.m., they are generally dormant, said Hari Shankar, an assistant inspector general at Kerala Police, who worked as a land investigator on the case. In court, investigators demonstrated their argument by setting up an experiment to demonstrate whether the cobra would strike a sleeping person. In the video, the same type of the cobra was thrown on the bed with the mannequin at night. The video shows the snake slithering away several times and only bite into a kitchen breast tied to the lift when repeatedly provoked. Investigators threw another cobra on the mannequin to see how it would react. Experts also raised the doubt over how the cobra came to be in the Uttara's room. Cobras can only raise themselves particularly to one-third of their length, the court was told, meaning the 152 centimeter 60-inch cobra that bite Uttara could only have raised itself to the height of around 50 centimeters, not high enough to enter through the windows. 3 air holes in the room were also sealed. And lastly, Uttara has slept through what was arguably one of the most painful experiences of her life. Vava Suresh, the star snake catcher Kumar, had watched all night, was called to give evidence. He told the court that during his 30-year career, he had been bitten 16 times by a Russell's viper and 340 times by cobra, resulting in excruciating and severe pain. Though only 3 viper bites and 10 cobra bites were critical, he said. The snake catcher said he had to amputate his left middle finger after a cobra bite, and after another bite can no longer fully rotate his right wrist. He said the snake that bites for self-protection would not strike twice, as the animals spare their venom, and he was sure Uttara would have walked on being beaten if she hadn't been sedated. The Indian spectacles cobra can grow up to 1.8 meters, 6 feet long. Kumar stays awake all night after the attack, the judgment said, during which he destroyed the evidence by washing the glass tumbler and the stick used to handle the snake. He also deleted his call history, which proved he had been in contact with the snake handler, according to the judgment. After Uttara was pronounced dead, her brother Bishu found the cobra inside the family home and killed it. He followed the police advice to bury the serpent at the house and marked the location with a stick. During the investigation, the snake's carcass was dug up, and the post-mortem examination showed its abdomen was empty, a very significant development, according to the investigator, Shankar. Generally, a snake takes 7 days to digest food, he said, which means that it had been at least 7 days since it had eaten something. A cobra which lives in natural habitat eats at least twice in a day. So that means the snake that bite Uttara had been kept in confinement. The cobra used in the video experiment only lashed out when repeatedly provoked. Death by snakebite. Uttara's death is not the first in India involving the accusation of murder by snake. India's Supreme Court denied the bail to Krishna Kumar on October 6th, one of the three people accused of murder in the death of the woman from the northern east of Rajasthan by leaving the venomous snake in a bag near her bed, according to local news outlet NDTV. People buying venomous snakes from snake charmers to kill on others by snakebite is a new trend that is becoming common in Rajasthan, said Justice Shura Kant during the bail hearing, NDTV reported. Snakebite deaths are not rare in India, with 1.2 million such fatalities from 2000 to 2019, according to the World Health Organization. But Shankar, the investigator, said 99.9% of snake bites in India were characterized as accidental. We do not know how many of those cases could have been murder, but passed off as an accident, he said. In such cases, it's very important to prove that the bite is homicidal. We proved that the person was drugged and recovered the container from the accused, proved that he bought the snake, his mobile search patterns, all those things. This is shocking to us. The May 8th, the day after Uttara's death, Chavarukavu Suresh, the snake handler who sold Kumar the cobra, read about her death in the local newspaper. He tried to phone Kumar, the court heard, but Kumar didn't answer. Next day, Kumar returned Shumar's call and told him he must not tell anyone that he sold him the snake. Suresh said he asked Kumar why he committed a grave sin, and Kumar responded that he couldn't live with his wife anymore. If Suresh remained silent, he said they could pass her death off as a serpent curse, and both avoid being implicated in murder. In Kerala, a serpent curse is a superstitious belief that the cobras have the power to curse families who don't worship them. Police take Suraj Kumar into custody after he was sentenced to life in prison for killing his wife. But when police arrested Kumar, they also arrested Chavarukavu Suresh, who confessed to selling him both the snakes, though Suresh insisted he had nothing to do with plotting the murder. He was pardoned by Kollam's chief judicial magistrate, leaving Kumar as the prime suspect. Chavarukavu Suresh later testified against Kumar in court. Despite being the rarest of rare cases, they were able to prove he's guilty. Bush Uthra's brother. The prosecution called multiple experts who testified the Rosel's viper bite was also unnatural. The expert said it was all but impossible for the ground-dwelling snake to navigate the smooth tiles to the first floor of Kumar's home, where Uthra was beaten. Furthermore, the bite marks were vertical, suggesting she had been beaten while lying down. Snake expert Baba Suresh told the court Rosel's vipers like dry, arid landscapes, whereas Kumar's home was built on marshland. He also said the locals had told him They hadn't seen a Russell's Piper in the area for 15 years. Kumar pleaded not guilty to the charges, but the judge convicted him of 4 offenses, including attempt murder and murder, and he was given 2 life sentences. 4 weeks after Kumar's conviction, her family is still in disbelief that the man they trust to love their daughter had plotted to kill her. Police and the prosecution had done their work well, her brother Vishu said. Despite being the rarest of rare cases, they were able to prove his guilt. But Kumar was stoic and showed no remorse. That is shocking to us. Their focus now is to ensure that Uttara's 2-year-old son grows up happy and remembers his mother for the loving and caring woman she was. Whenever Uttara's family shows her son a photograph of his mother, he smiles, Bishu said. He will throw his hand up to the photo and say Uttara Amma, using the Malayalam word for mother, he said. We will make sure he knows who his mother was. We will make sure he knows who his mother was.